That's all we need. Hello and welcome to another edition of The Tigers Down Under. I'm your host, as always, Alex, and with me today I have Mitch. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Surviving in this crazy world we find ourselves in, but we'll try not to dwell too much on viruses and isolation and all that sort of thing, but talk more about City. And you were lucky enough to be over in Hull itself would have been about a month ago now, wasn't it? To watch us play Leeds and Stoke. So just starting with, how was your experience of heading over there for the first time?
In terms of the games, I wouldn't say I was lucky, but no, it was really cool to see the city that I've looked at from afar, from the other side of the world, for a good 15 odd years. So just walking around the city, just seeing things that I've heard of or that I've read about or just seen photos of was really cool. Obviously the games themselves, we'll talk about them, but just the experience of it all was good to finally get it done and tick something off my bucket list.
Yeah, definitely. And, yes, the results weren't fantastic, but I guess starting with the Leeds game, what could be better than playing Leeds at home in a Yorkshire derby as your first taste of live city football? Heading to the stadium, I guess the atmosphere would have been buzzing. It would have been, I know speaking, personal experience when I went over there, when you're walking towards the pitch and everyone around you talking about the team and getting excited for the match, and you kind of think, oh, crap, I'm around other City supporters, and it's a pretty unreal experience.
Yeah, I think the most City supporters I've been around is probably the 5 genuine City supporters that were at the FA Cup night that time, and a bunch of ring-ins that we got. To be honest, we missed the kick a little bit because we weren't used to such an early kickoff, because I think it was 12:30. So, and obviously here games kick off at like 5 at the earliest or 3 at the earliest. So we were a bit behind, and so we rushed off to the pubs, and they were already chiyoppers by the time we got there. But that kind of made it as well. Not being able to move in the pub and struggling to get a beer, I guess it's kind of a part of it. So yeah, we bounced from a few different pubs, and then eventually found our way to the game pretty drunk by that point. But yeah, it was really cool. Seeing people talk about City, and we're like, what? This is like, I have these conversations in my head all with you, and that's the only time they happen. So to be surrounded by a few thousand people saying the same thing was cool.
And then I guess on the match itself, we actually started off reasonably okay for the first few minutes, and I say first few minutes because they did score pretty early. But I remember, I think we had a chance pretty early on. I think it was Stewart or someone might have sprayed something wide, but. We were sort of in the match to start with, and even going in at halftime, only 1-0 down. It wasn't really the end of the world at that stage, but yeah, I guess when they opened the scoring after 5 minutes, it mustn't have been a great feeling.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I didn't expect us to really win that, but I didn't expect it to just be over so kind of quickly. And yes, it was only 1-0, but after that, they kind of just really built on the game, and we had a few chances, but we never really looked like we were going to get anything from it after that goal, which was just I actually didn't see the deflection. I just thought he'd scored an absolute screamer just from where I was stood. And I watched it back later, and I was like a bit saltier that it took such a big deflection, but it is what it is.
How was the how's the atmosphere at halftime, or even just in the first half? Did everyone sort of feel a bit deflated, or was there still some sort of trying to urge the team on to get the equaliser?
To be honest, I don't think it really changed at all throughout the game, especially because where I was right next to the Leeds end. So it was more just them giving the stick to us and us giving it back. And so the game itself didn't really affect. I'm sure it probably would have been better if we were better, but I didn't really feel it decrease at any point. But on the atmosphere, it's good, but I also find it a little bit cringy in the fact that there's 12-year-old kids that can be giving you stick and acting all hard because they've got the segregation and stuff. Yeah. So it's you're helpless and nothing you can do. But this little specky 12-year-old kid was just ripping into it. And I was like, well, shit. Like, we're getting pumped. What can I do now?
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of, and I guess because you were near their end, were you on the side where they walked the supporters? You know, they got
Yeah.
was that right in front of you? How was that?
Yeah, yes. Well, I just assumed they would have been kicked out, not walked to the side, and it gave me the idea because we couldn't get tickets because my brother's obviously a Villa fan. We couldn't get tickets into the Villa end for their Leicester game, so it gave me the idea of like, just buying tickets in the Leicester end and saying we're Villa fans and getting walked across. But obviously, that's not how it should work. I mean, it was pretty funny. I wish I had a beer to throw at them. It was funny watching them get stick and shit, but it was also a bit shit that they were in there in the first place and the fact they didn't get kicked out. But well.
I kind of health and safety point of view, like you said, you know, it's a bit of fun. You can chuck a beer or something at them, but if someone threw something more significant at them, I mean, the cops are basically sort of almost encouraging it by parading them in front of everyone to take them down to the away end, because obviously you're basically saying, here's these guys who've bought tickets in the home end, and you know, have a go at them. Yeah,
exactly. It was just a free for all, and anyone that had anything they could throw. Luckily, as you say, there wasn't anything more dangerous that could have done some damage.
And then kind of just collapsed, and it did end up a 4-0 game. But like you're saying, I guess when you're actually at the game, the result, when it gets to that point, doesn't really become the main focus. It's more about the banter with the away fans, and you know, just trying to get a bit of stick at them and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. And like, in fairness to them, and I hate to say it, they were really good, the Leeds fans. They really, well, obviously they show up. Everyone knows. They tell everyone how good they are. But yeah, no, they were good, and they sang well, and we didn't sing like as much as I kind of expected. Like, didn't do chants and stuff as much as I kind of thought. But again, that could have been, you know, the 4-0 playing a part.
And that's it as well. I feel like, I guess the sort of the fight goes out of the crowd, even when we've been on such a poor run of form that it's just loss after loss at the moment. That and it's actually weird to think back on now that it's been almost a month since games, just about, that we were in such a horrendous run of form, and the way that it sort of petered out after Bowen and Grzycki left. We'll talk about that Stoke game now, where you look at that game and you think, going into it, we were actually above them on the table. You think this is a real chance to turn things around, to sort of dig the feet in. And to lose 5-1, and the manner of the goals to be 3-0 down after 20 minutes, where was it Powell and Klukas both got 2 goals each. Credit to Klukas, at least didn't celebrate when he scored after what he did against Swansea the other week. But how was that one for you? We'll talk about the City goal in a second, but just more from the point of view of, you know, Stoke scoring so easily, and sort of a game that you'd expect to be much more of a 50-50.
So yeah, this one's interesting because, so obviously, like the first 2 goals, you're like, well shit, like we're getting smashed by a team that's below us. Well, we're in a relegation scrap, like this shouldn't happen. But then by the time the 3-0, the third goal goes in, it's like there's this weird like phenomena in football where you're so bad that you don't let yourself be miserable anymore, and you kind of like take the piss a little bit. So like, and when they scored the third goal, it was like 3-0 in 25 minutes or something. Then we kind of realized we weren't going to get anything from the game, and it turned to like, we just went through the whole repertoire of City chants. Like there were like Ian Ashby chants and Steve Bruce chants, and like we're doing like you've only scored 4 against stuff, like singing to the Stoke fans. And it got to that point where I had a lot more fun at that game, even though like on the pitch it was, but they're both miserable, I guess. But just the fact that it was over so quickly kind of did us a favour, or did me a favour anyway.
And I was going to say, I mean, it's almost more fun to go to those away games because it's so much the diehard away travelling supporters. And you're all grouped together, so you've got all the singing and everything together. You stand for the whole game. It's almost more of a fun experience. And like you said, I mean, yeah, obviously you'd be 3 up after 20 minutes, but one way or the other, you know, when you're 3 down, you suddenly just go, oh, well, let's just make a day of it. We'll just have a bit of fun. And you just don't expect anything out of the game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's exactly what we did in the end. We were the old, let's pretend we scored a goal, happened a few times. But yeah, that's exactly right. We made a day of it. We got pissed. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course De Silva did score right at the end or towards the end of the game, just as a consolation. But at least then you can say you've seen a City goal live. Must have been a pretty fun experience.
I reckon I was the happiest bloke in the stadium. We're down 5-1, and I reckon I was the happiest guy in Stoke. I was just over the moon. That's all I wanted. Like at that point, I just wanted a goal,
Yeah.
and like it was a bit like it's not gonna come. It's not gonna come. I'm gonna come over here. We're gonna lose 4-0 and 4-0. I think it was 4-0 again. Was it 5?
I think it was 4-0
Yeah, I
at that
think it
point.
was
'Cause
four.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I thought I'm gonna say back to back 4-0 losses, and then yeah, that happened, and I was just over the moon. And I had like, I guess no, everyone was like kind of looking at me, like everyone around me was like, why is this kid so happy? Like we're getting spanked, and he's like overcome with joy. But yeah, it was cool to see, and I think he was arguably like not much to say, but he was probably one of our better players on the
Yeah.
day. And so I think him getting that, it was, yeah, deserved.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lopez has been one of the finds of the season, really. I mean, I remember when we signed him from, it was Wigan, I think, where they sort of said he's this lightweight kid who's not really good enough. He's not really up to it, and he just slotted in centre midfield. And even against Leeds, there were times where he was just sort of not running the midfield, because obviously their midfield was sort of all over us for most of the game. But whenever he was on the ball, he just seemed so composed, and he, as small as he is, he doesn't really get out muscled. He just sort of like shrugs under the guy and gets through a tackle or whatever. So he's been very impressive.
Yeah, I think every time he got the ball, he was the only one that really looked dangerous until he made some substitutions and KOB came on. But literally the only person that looked like doing any damage at all was him. I remember him picking the ball up in midfield and getting through a few players, and it's like, what? Like normally it's the guys in red and white doing that to us. So why have we started doing that? Yeah.
And then obviously got cut short somewhat. I mean, so you saw these two City games. Do you see Villa against Leicester, or did you just see Villa against City?
I saw the League Cup final against City, and I saw them play Leicester, get battered by Leicester.
What was the score on the Leicester one?
4-0. So my brother and I both got 4-0.
I was going to say, and the League Cup final was it 5-1 or something?
Nah, that was only 2-1.
Oh, 2-1. Okay.
Yeah, they put up a fight. That was.
I had it in my head that all of your games were four goal margins, but okay, so there was at least one close one.
Yeah, that's right.
How was the League Cup final at Wembley?
It's hard to say. Like we were sat at the City end because we couldn't get tickets in the Villa end, and obviously City they're plasticity and whatever. But like the game itself was really good. That was definitely the best game of our teams that we saw anyway.
Yeah.
Villa put up a good fight. But it was good to see like Kevin De Bruyne started on the bench and then he came on and like against a tired Villa, it was just like whoa. I literally just had like a KDB cam with my eyes. Like I only watched him for a good 5 or 10 minutes. It was just probably the best footballer that I've seen live now. I can say that. But Wembley was cool. Like just to be able to, again, another thing I wanted to tick off for a long time.
And you also saw, who was it? Fulham. That first game that you saw.
Swansea.
It was just that game against Swansea, wasn't it, where Mitrovic scored right at the end.
Yeah, he missed the penalty in the 88th minute and then scored in stoppage time, which was really cool. We're in the Fulham end. It was freezing. It was so cold. That was literally the day we arrived, and I knew it was cold, but like I didn't prepare well enough that night. That was good fun. That was really good fun.
And then you were going to head over to it. Were you going straight over to Italy after that, and then you're going to see a couple of games there, or what was the plan?
So we went to Poland after the Leeds game, I think. Yeah, went to Poland after the Leeds game, and we saw the Krakow derby, which was pretty cool. The away fans weren't allowed there, which kind of ruined it a little bit. But it's meant to be like really like fierce and dangerous and stuff. So we got an element of that. There was a lot of pyro, which was fun. But yeah, without the away fans, it was never like what we built it up to be. And then the plan was to go to Italy and see see the San Siro, which I'll now never be able to do.
Yeah, crazy.
It was AC Milan Roma, which would have been a decent game too. And then the plan was Germany to see. We were going to try and get tickets to the Bayern Chelsea. Do they play Chelsea in the Championship?
Yeah.
Yeah, to that. We had accommodation in Munich, but we didn't have tickets to it yet, so we're going to try scalp them. And then the Olympiastadion for the Berlin Derby was the final game that we didn't get to see, which was the one I was maybe most excited for, probably aside from Hull. But I still had fun. I still had a lot of fun in the 2.5, 3 weeks that we were there, and I got to tick a lot of things off, so I can't really complain.
And then looking back at it now, I mean, you probably saw just about the last live football that will have fans in it, at least you'd expect if the season does resume, for the season, because our game against Stoke was our last game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Jeez.
So I mean, it worked out well in that sense. We were deciding whether to come home on the Friday or the Saturday because we had tickets to Villa Chelsea on the Saturday, but
right.
it was like a few $100s cheaper if we came home on the Friday, and we're like, look, like we'll bite the bullet and just and then ended up getting called off after we booked our tickets home. So that worked out really well in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. I guess then that sort of leads into the broader question of, on the assumption that the season does resume, do you have any sense or how do you see City finishing off the season? I mean, from my point of view, the big silver lining of all of this is because we had so many injuries and so many issues with the side in those last few weeks, at least this way we come back with a fully fit side. Like guys like Eves, who was meant to be out for the season, Lewis Potter, who was injured with a hamstring injury or whatever he had, even Scott, the guy that we recruited from Scotland, who was who had that ankle injury and was meant to be out for the season, guys like that, all of a sudden maybe there's a chance that they do come into the side and they do play a part. So it's and like Herbie Kane, all those guys as well. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens if the season does start up again. But how do you see City sort of maybe pulling together and maybe getting out of the mess?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That's what I was thinking this whole time. Like, we're going to get so many players back, particularly our centre back. That's the one I'm most excited for because obviously we have been incredibly leaky. I think with a fully fit squad, we will obviously not get smashed. And I think we will have enough in us. Like again, mostly with Yordi and Reece back, that's just enormous for us. So I think, I think we'll stay up. I don't think we'll make it look pretty, but I think we'll end up staying up if it does resume at any point. Yeah. But another thing would be like, so people like Herbie Kane are on loan. So
I know it's what happens.
Yeah. I guess everyone's been asking that question, but yeah, that's a weird one. Hey, do we have any players that are off contract or other loanees?
Well, so Henriksen and Dicko are the big ones I can think of who are out on loan, and it's going to be really interesting to see if FIFA or whoever enforces these. They're sort of saying, well, maybe everyone will have their contracts extended by a month or whatever, so that the season can get finished. But I can imagine that the Allams aren't going to be happy if they're stuck paying Dicko, Henriksen, essentially, Premier League or upper Championship wages, when we're basically saying, well, hang on, they're out of contract. We don't want them. They don't want to be here. Let's just not sign them. And then, like you're saying, what happens with all of the loan players? Then I think there's guys like Irvine and stuff who have, I don't know if they're out of contract and they've got the option to extend. And I haven't heard anything about extending them, but I guess at the moment everything's just completely up in the air.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't think they'll be able to start it again anyway.
Yeah. Because can you imagine?
And then it's a matter of.
Can you imagine if they started it again and then they said, okay, you're going to play a game every 3 days, and then Device pulls his hamstring and he's out for 2 weeks, and instead of that meaning he's going to miss 3 games, it means he's going to miss like 6 or 7 games, and then we go down. Like the amount of stink that people like clubs would kick up if they said, we've been relegated, but we've only been relegated because of this whole mess. Like I just don't see how they're going to resume it. They're just going to have to call it, or they're going to have to say no relegation and maybe the top 2 teams go up or something.
Yeah, look, I'm happy if they don't put Leeds up.
I know, so I'm
That would be
hoping. I'm
really
hoping.
nice. Yeah, and obviously the Liverpool thing.
No
That's
Liverpool
obviously
title,
great as well.
no Leeds promotion, Hull stay up. That'd be the perfect trifecta.
Yeah, it really would. And, I've been saying that this whole time. Like,
Yeah,
obviously, coronavirus is horrible.
yeah.
But in terms of football, for me, it's really done me favors.
It is peak banter
Um,
period where everyone's been saying, like the world's going to end to stop Liverpool winning the title, and now it's actually happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, whether it's through football or whether it's through the virus, I think we will stay up.
It's going to be really interesting times, and thank you everyone for listening in for this episode. We will try to come back at some point, whether it's to do a preview of the next game that we've got, if there is a next game, whether it's a wrap up of the season, whatever it is, we'll try and get some content coming your way to distract everyone during this time. But until next time, come on City.
You've been listening to the official Hull City Australia podcast. For more discussion, join us on Facebook in the Hull City AFC Australian Supporters Group, or follow us on Twitter at Hull City AFC Oz. The music was created by Amber and Black.
This is on fire. We're going higher and higher. There's no turning back 'cause you're out.